guys, Gons here for the Face Like the Sun YouTube channel with another CERN Watch video. A lot going on with CERN. First off, right off the bat here, I know that the iPet Goat thing has been making the rounds. Enter the Stars YouTube channel posted this video about putting an iPet Goat into Google Earth and getting some interesting results. And so I decided to go ahead and screen capture my first attempt at this. And here's what I got. So here we go, iPet Goat into my little search, and I get three results. A, CERN. B, Dome of the Rock. And C, Hotel Modernist. Now, I don't know the significance to Hotel Modernist, but I will say this. If you guys remember the review of the film Lucy that I did, it was called Luciferian Doctrine, the Philosopher's Stone, Apotheosis, and the Singularity. You would remember that in one of the scenes in the film Lucy, they go through this entire initiation thing where they go through this strange architecture. Well, guess what, guys? That architecture is less than 2 miles from this hotel. So perhaps there's something there where we're literally talking about the occult significance of this location, which is very interesting. Now, the other two places, of course, CERN, no surprise there. But then also the third place, the Dome of the Rock. Very interesting that that would be the third place to show up on iPet Goat. Now, if you don't know iPet Goat, it's a movie video that was made by Heliofont. It's a CGI. It goes through some very fascinating things. And, you know, if you're into these sorts of hidden meanings and hidden messages in the occult and stuff like that, there's a lot there that's pretty interesting to consider. Now, I have a lot more information to get through in this video, and I want to get through it fairly quickly. So bear with me here, and I'll tie it back to the significance with these three locations at the end. But here we have some updates that came out. On May 5th, it was reported that U.S. CERN agreement paves way for a new era of discovery. And if you go through here, a new agreement was signed yesterday in Washington between the United States and CERN that will pave the way for a renewed collaboration in particle physics. So basically, just a new level of cooperation between the United States and CERN, which is interesting because if you check out one of my older CERN Watch videos, I talk about how the United States and CERN are not included. They don't actually cooperate a whole lot. You know, they're kind of affiliated. Well, now they're going to cooperate some more, which is fascinating. Perhaps they are going to utilize the United States with their own facilities that have particle colliders such as Fermilab to continue to look for things, perhaps even to create some sort of global scale portal. And, you know, that's just pure speculation at the moment, but we'll see how things unfold. And then thirdly, another interesting thing to just take note, there is an indie sci-fi thriller. It's a short movie called Leah, an Angel in My House, and you can check out the preview. I'll leave the link in the description section. It's a low-budget independent film, but it says here, it tells the story of Abel, who loses his wife and daughter in an accident. After a dark period, his life is turned around by the arrival of a young girl very like his own daughter, and they were allowed to film this inside the CERN facilities. And what's interesting is that this film is only the second film to the Da Vinci Code that has been allowed to be filmed inside the CERN facilities. So why are they allowing this? I don't know, but it's a film that definitely has some paranormal stuff to it, some weird parallel universe type things that are associated with it. So again, I think they are trying to create more of this mystique that surrounds CERN. So those are just a couple updates coming out of CERN. But here's what I really wanted to get to in this video. The Daily Coin on May 9th published this article, Approaching the Event Horizon, Mysterious Deaths Linked to CERN. And it was written by Stephen Stanford, All News Pipeline. And it says here, around 1 a.m. on Sunday, April 26th, 2 doctoral students at the Louisiana State University were mysteriously found dead at the bottom of a local swimming pool. 28-year-old Ishta Maidi and 25-year-old Anton Zhou were with the School of Physics and Astronomy department, with Maidi studying theoretical astrophysics while Anton was a third-year graduate student studying theoretical gravity. And this 28-year-old Mishta Ati had written a very popular paper that was in the New Astronomy Journal, which was called Black Hole Spin Dependence of General Relativistic Multitransonic Accretion Close to the Event Horizon. And then Anton Zhou's recent paper, which was called Kantowski-Sachs Spacetime and Loop Quantum Cosmology, Bounds on Expansion and Shear Scalars and the Viability of Quantization Prescriptions. And let me read this here. Back on March 20th, 2015, Susan Doklos wrote a story in which members of the scientific community talked about CERN and the possibility of it creating black holes in parallel universes, warnings not given by conspiracy theorists, but experts, members of the same fields of study as Ishta Mehti and Anton Joe, warning that we should all be concerned about as we do all live upon the same planet. Did Mehti and or Joe discover something that they were not supposed to know, which led to their mysterious deaths? Both of them were considered stunningly intelligent with brilliant minds. And then he continues here, these two deaths were just the most recent deaths of people who were linked to CERN following the death of another CERN team member during a recent ski trip, and happened during a strange week of people drowning in pairs. 2 Navy SEALs were recently found at the bottom of a swimming pool during what was supposed to be a training exercise. And he goes on here, but this is very bizarre that some of these young people writing papers about black holes would be found dead. Now, again, there's no concrete evidence here suggesting that there's anything nefarious going on. However, it should raise your suspicion of why people are dying associated to CERN. Now, Steve Quayle has been one of the guys documenting scientists who have been taken out because perhaps they are, close to exposing some of the occult significances of science, of modern day science. There is an occult connection there, and I've done CERN watch videos on that as well, so you should check those out. But the point here is that something weird is going on, and we should be tracking, and we should actually be praying for the protection of these people. But let me get to this other death here. This was reported on the local CH. It's a Switzerland news in English here. CERN in shock over fatal Vallis avalanche. One of 4 members of CERN's ski club swept down the mountainside. A 49-year-old Frenchman died in the Sion hospital on Monday. Interesting. Sion. CERN spokesman Arnaud Marsorlier, speaking to news agency ATS before news of man's death became known, said the scientific organization was shocked by the news of the snowslide. He confirmed that members of CERN ski club were victims of an avalanche of the north slope of Pointes de Travasavolière, a 3,026-meter mountain. And then a 33-year-old Swiss man was injured, and it goes on here. Again, I'll link these articles to the description section. Oh, and one thing, getting back to that first article, there are screenshots and PDFs of the papers that these two who were mysteriously found dead at the bottom of a pool wrote, and so you guys can download it, check it out. Some of you guys that are better versed in the science and the actual nitty-gritty of it than I am, you guys can check out these documents and see what he was up to and what he was talking about in these reports. Now, the final thing I want to get into is quantum computers. I've been looking into quite a bit about quantum computers recently, and especially after my conversation with Anthony Patch, of which I know you guys have seen on here on YouTube, my interview with Anthony Patch. But if you guys want to get into a longer conversation with Anthony, we just did one at Canary Cry Radio, Anthony Patch. It's been a very popular episode. As of this recording, it's been shared 867 times. So a very popular episode on this, and we get into all kinds of stuff with Anthony, and he gets into the nitty gritty. So definitely check that episode out. But I really wanted to do my homework on the adiabatic quantum computer, the AQC, and he didn't actually tell us which company was responsible for putting this quantum computer out there, but I found a couple places that I think he was talking about. Now, this first one is published by Recode.net. D-Wave CEO, our next quantum processor will make computer science history. This was published on September 25th of 2014, and it talks about spooky action at a distance, which is basically the properties of quantum physics. But here is what I thought was very, very interesting. Conventional computers deal with binary bits of information, ones or zeros, but a quantum computer manipulates what are known as qubits, or quantum bits, which can be ones and zeros at the same time, leveraging the power of superposition. Such a machine depends on entanglement as well, performing many operations on the same data simultaneously. And here's what I want to highlight. No one can really say for certain where those helpful distant qubits are operating. The leading bet among physicists is the many worlds interpretation, which would suggest quantum computers offload processing to parallel universes. No, seriously, read this. So again, some of you guys have still been mocking like, oh yeah, there's no such thing as multiple dimensions or parallel universes. Well, guys, the science here is actually saying, and even suggesting, the leading physicists are saying, hey, maybe this information is coming from a parallel universe, because they don't know where this information is going. It disappears into wherever, and then it comes back with the answer. So when Anthony Patch, in our interview before on this channel, talked about the quantum computer that sends information into another dimension with the answers coming back, he was not lying. This is actual science. And this is very fascinating. Here's another article by the New Yorker, New Yorker, so, take it with a grain of salt. But this was published back in May 2nd, 2011, Dream Machine, the mind-expanding world of quantum computing. And it just basically speculates about the fabric of reality and talks about how we may be living in a hologram. And speaking of living in a hologram and making that idea even more popular, there are a couple articles from Singularity Hub that I want to point out. This first one, published on May 11th, 2015, Quantum Computing is about to overturn cybersecurity's balance of power. And it's basically telling the same story, quantum mechanics and Einstein and the spooky action at a distance and all that stuff. But they're basically suggesting that this is real. Now, here's the stuff that we need to focus on here. According to this article, quote, there is a race to build quantum computers, and as far as we know, it isn't the NSA that is in the lead. Competing are big tech companies such as IBM, Google, and Microsoft, startups, defense contractors, and universities. One Canadian startup says that it has already developed a first version of a quantum computer. A physicist at Delft University of Technology in the Netherlands, Ronald Hansen, told Scientific American that he will be able to make the building blocks of a universal quantum computer in just 5 years, and a fully functional demonstration machine in a little more than a decade. These will change the balance of power in business and cyber warfare. They have profound national security implications because they are the technology equivalent of a nuclear weapon. Think about that, guys. We're talking about crazy levels of technology. And let me continue here. There's a couple more articles here on Singularity Hub that are very, very fascinating. This one was published on May 8th. A quantum computer is a delicate beast. Video tour of D-Wave's Black Box, Part 1. Now, first off, why are they calling this thing the beast? I mean, come on. Hello, wake up, folks. These are secular people. They have no reason to really associate any of it with anything biblical. But here we are, a delicate beast. Interesting to note, to say the least. And if you watch this video, it shows the D-Wave machine. This is the same company that I just read the press release from just a bit earlier, and it shows how basically they create this chamber and they make an area that is colder than space, and the information, again, they process it in another dimension, and it comes through here and comes out the machine. And guys, this is real. The D-Wave, look how huge this machine is, but realistically, we're talking about a real life quantum computer. This is it, folks. Beast technology is here. And we're not just talking about, microchips. We're talking about quantum computing. I think this really is the end of the fabric of space-time as we know it. We're starting to investigate into that other side, that other realm. And here we go. It's really happening, guys. Things are accelerating really fast. With the genetic age, we got down to the DNA. And beyond DNA, what is there? Information. We're going to go into the spiritual realm. And now we're into the quantum computing, and we are accessing that other side through controlled quantum computing. So what's the connection between CERN and all these quantum computers? Well, the quantum process. CERN is looking for the mechanisms by which these quantum particles operate. And so there's that level of it. But then also we went over how much data CERN goes through. If they switched over to quantum computers, they will be able to process all that data much, much faster. I think this is it, guys. The D-Wave, I think Anthony Patch is right. This will actually be the global computer system that we are building. And I think this is why we're starting to see other nations gather, come together. Once the quantum level of computing is connected throughout these different facilities with particle colliders or with these large quantum computers all around the world, we are going to be connected in, and there you go. The global brain concept is a reality. And not just that, I'm going to stay with Singularity Hub here for this last little thing. The world in 2025, that's 10 years from now. 8 predictions for the next 10 years. And it goes through all this stuff, and you guys can go through it on your own. But here's the one that I thought was very interesting. 8 billion hyper-connected people, Facebook, SpaceX, Google, Qualcomm, and Version are planning to provide global connectivity to every human on Earth at speeds exceeding 1 megabyte per second. We will grow from 3 to 8 billion connected humans, adding 5 billion new consumers into the global economy. They represent tens of trillions of new dollars flowing into the global economy. And they're not coming online like we did 20 years ago with a 9600 modem on AOL. They're coming online with a 1 megabyte per second connection and access to the world's information on Google, cloud 3D printing, Amazon Web Services, artificial intelligence with Watson, crowdfunding, crowdsourcing, and more. So very interesting. And also this one here, and this ties into the Avengers movie. Look, guys, all this is coming together in a very bizarre way. Number 7 here says this: early days of Jarvis. Artificial intelligence research will make strides in the next decade. If you think Siri is useful now, the next decade's generation of Siri will be much more like Jarvis from Iron Man, with expanded capabilities to understand and answer. Companies like IBM Watson, DeepMind, and Vicarious continue to hunker down and develop next-generation AI systems. In a decade, it will be normal for you to give your AI access to listen to all of your conversations, read your emails, and scan your biometric data because the upside and convenience will be so immense. Mark of the beast, anyone? If that's not the mark of the beast, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know what is. And, the mark of the beast specifically says that it's going to have to do with buying and selling. Well, here you go. Blockchain. If you haven't heard of blockchain, I highly recommend you read up on it. You might have heard of Bitcoin, which is the decentralized, global, democratized, highly secure cryptocurrency based on the blockchain. But the real innovation is the blockchain itself, a protocol that allows for secure, direct, without a middleman, digital transfers of values and assets. Think money, contracts, stocks, IP, etc. Investors like Mark Anderson have poured tens of millions into the development and believe this is as important of an opportunity as the creation of the internet itself. Guys, this is the real deal. We are talking about the mark of the beast system. We are talking about the image of the beast. I mean, I would not be surprised if we see the Antichrist hit the scene in the next 10 years. This is just way too many things happening at once in the technological field, in the science field. It's just, you can't ignore it anymore. And if we think about the Temple Mount, going right back to the IPEC goat thing, the Temple Mount being the central location where the abomination of desolation is supposed to take place. And again, I've documented this in Age of Deceit 2, Rabbi Chaim Richmond talking about the new temple they're going to build, how technology is a modern miracle and how it's going to be associated with the heavenly miracles. I mean, this is all coming together in a very, very strange and bizarre way. And let me just tell you guys, I really think that we are getting very close to the return of Jesus Christ. And I know some of you guys watching these CERN Watch videos aren't believers, and that's okay, but, just be aware, because there is an answer here, and that comes with Jesus Christ. Let me read for you Matthew 24, 21 through 27, and this is right after the abomination of desolation, which is what we're talking about, where things will happen on the Temple Mount. Here's what it says. For then there will be great tribulation, such as has not been from the beginning of the world until now, no, and never will be. And if those days had not been cut short, no human being would be saved. But for the sake of the elect, those days will be cut short. Then if anyone says to you, look, here's the Christ, or there he is, do not believe it, for false Christs and false prophets will arise and perform great signs and wonders, so as to lead astray, if possible, even the elect. See that I have told you beforehand. So if they say to you, look, he's in the wilderness, do not go out. If they say, look, he's in the inner rooms, do not believe it. For as the lightning comes from the east and shines as far as the west, so will the coming of the Son of Man be. So there you go. Things are going to happen at the Temple Mount. Very bizarre things. An abomination of desolation will be set up there. Jesus tells people that are in Judea at that time to flee, and it will be a time of tribulation that has never been like it before. I mean, that's pretty intense. And it says that if those days had not been cut short, no human being would survive, would be saved. But for the sake of the elect, those days will be cut short. Why? Because Jesus Christ will come. But before that, there will be false Christs and false prophets. So don't believe them, because the Son of Man will come when the sun, moon, star signs happen, and everybody will know when the true Jesus Christ comes back. But up until that point, we're going to see false Christs. We're going to see false prophets. They are going to perform great signs and wonders, counterfeit signs and wonders. And these are going to be lies. And I think with the way technology is going with all these quantum computers and CERN and all this other stuff, we may see some pretty spectacular things, but they are going to be lies. So that's all I wanted to say for this video. My voice is running out here. So hope you guys get something out of it. Please share, subscribe, and comment below, but be nice. Take care, guys. God bless.